and welcome to the Mental Music Podcast, a podcast made for teens by teens exploring mental health from our perspective. My name's Gordon.
And my name's Tom.
This episode we'll be interviewing Dr. Lauren Phillips. She's a child psychologist, and she's going to be interviewed by me to pretty much give us an insight on how she can help students and the stresses associated with students' welfare in schools. Today we're going to be listening to songs by Carolyn, Dare, Taylor, and Egg. And we hope you enjoy the interview. Our first song is by Egg. It's called Free.
Voices in my head go. That's when I know I am free. Let my heart decide the outcome. Put all your faith and trust in me. That's when I know I am free. 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 That's when I know I am free.
So I'm here with Dr. Lauren Phillips. She's a child psychologist, and she's here to talk to me about how to deal with the school stress that occurs in your early years of life. So pretty much everything around school and how people can deal with that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I thought I'd talk about, surviving high school. So just some strategies that might be useful for high school students. It is quite a stressful time in a person's life, I think. So I think any strategies that you can have, then hopefully they'll be helpful.
Yeah, okay. And there are, we looked at this a few episodes ago. There are three main parts of high school that people are most really afraid of or concerned about. There's schoolwork, and then there is social life and how they appear. So you get social appearance, physical appearance, and academic appearance.
Yes.
And people are most concerned about that. How would you recommend students sort of survive those three? So like perhaps starting with work?
Yeah, so Sorry, was that school, like the schoolwork, the
Yeah,
academic
pretty much,
workload? Yeah. So look, I suppose when I talk to students in a counselling capacity, we talk through putting together a study plan, how that can be quite helpful, dividing your time. So I guess that can just be helpful to see it written down there in black and white. So
Yeah.
you know that, maybe between 4:30 and 5:30 you'll study during that hour, and then that becomes a habit. So that's something you could get used to every day as part of your routine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's just
let's
one.
say I'm a student who's finding really work quite difficult. So say I've got work piling up over the past few weeks, and I've just been given a new assignment. I'm just finishing off my first few, but this new one really is kicking me, and I'm really finding it hard to deal with stuff. Also, there's extracurricular activities. How do you recommend I deal with that? Like,
So yes, I've spoken to lots of students who are under that kind of pressure,
Okay.
and it can seem really overwhelming. So I would advise certainly starting off with a study planner, see how you go with something like that. So you'd probably put together a diary of, listing maybe a Monday to Friday, or include your weekends as well if you're in the habit of studying over the weekend. And just try and divvy up your time so that you are allowing time for those extracurricular activities. Try and allow a little bit of time for maybe having some fun or finding
Yeah.
time to relax, because I think that's really important too, just to keep something in there where maybe you're outside, out in nature, or just finding time to have a bit of fun. I think that's really, really important. So I'd probably start with a study plan.
Okay.
But I think as the work starts to pile up, I think it can get very overwhelming. So you could have something like a step plan. And how I would do a step plan is I would think about what my goal is or what my challenge. So you can apply this to any area of your life really, but think about what goal you want to achieve. So for example, you've got a big presentation coming up at school. Start with the easiest step. So you'd probably start with doing your research, trying to put together some research, and then once you have got that step, you've mastered that step, so basically you've gathered all your research, then you can move on to your next step of your coping plan. So you would maybe move on to starting to practice your talk, and then you might practice it in front of the mirror, might be step 3. Practice it in front of parents or family, might be step 4. So you're building up, and there's no end to how many steps you need. It depends really on your challenge that you're facing. But putting those little steps in place helps you achieve that bigger goal. So it's sort of a way to feel less overwhelmed because you're actually breaking down the big task that seems incredibly overwhelming into smaller, I call them sort of bite-sized chunks that you can deal with.
Okay. And when it comes to like work and stuff, that also affects your appearance in social life. So
Absolutely, yeah.
let's say you're a really academically centered student, and friends are sort of like an afterthought. So they're not.
Yes.
If you were to look at a weekend and you had in your mind, say, I have some work to do, but I also have some people inviting me to, say, a party, and you're fighting over that. Which would you choose as someone who's gone through school? And
Yes,
done all that.
yeah. Look, I think having a bit of time in there to have fun is really important. So
Yeah.
I would say, probably if you're going out to parties every weekend and you find that you're
Okay.
sort of falling behind in your workload, then, you might need to sort of put a cap on that.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
it's something that you do as a sort of treat every few weeks
Okay.
maybe. But I really think... I'm a big advocate for sort of, work hard, play hard too.
Yeah.
So, if it means that you have to get up at 7 on a Saturday morning just to get your work done, so that means then you can go out to the party or do whatever you want to do with your friends, then so be it. I mean, if you can handle getting up early and getting your work done first, then why not?
Okay.
Yeah, but I do think it's important to have fun as well. I think it's also important to try and find time to... I guess maybe spend time in nature, so maybe going out to the beach or going for a walk or something like that. But certainly trying to find time to get a little bit of exercise, so that can be really obviously very good for our mental well-being when we can find time to do that physical exercise as well. So I think it's important to try and throw a bit of that in to the very busy mix as well.
And just before we get on to physical appearance, how would you rate the three the three sort of genres from 1 to 3?
Sure, okay. So rate them in terms of...
Like importance, how much you should be caring about them to maintain mental health and to maintain a good work ethic during school.
Sure. Look, I suppose your school years, they are important years, and it's good to try and get a good schooling background, academic background under your belt.
Certainly,
so I would say, they are quite demanding years of your life, probably more so grades 11 and 12. So I would say years below that, don't stress too much. But, years 11 and 12, I do understand that they are academically very demanding and they are important years. So, look, I would probably say dedicate as much time as you're able to your studies, but also keep it in proportion. So I would say probably grades 11 and 12, maybe a couple of hours a day of study on top of school, which is actually quite demanding of your time, because you've already got a full day at school. But we do know that, particularly grade 12 is very trying, so you probably do need to dedicate the extra time for that. But I probably would say, try and focus on your schooling, but certainly allow some time, maybe save it for the weekends, but maybe allow that time for, socialising and keeping going with your hobbies and other sort of co-curricular activities as well.
Okay, and as we get on to physical appearance, I was talking to Grace a few minutes ago, and she goes on about every morning she wakes up and spends like half an hour doing her makeup or making sure all her hair looks great. And the same with boys, like I struggle to keep myself looking spick every morning. Is that something that we should really be focusing on as a student?
As a student, I think probably yes, if it's going to make you feel better in yourself. I don't think you need to spend sort of hours with doing makeup and straightening your hair or curling your hair, if you're a girl. But I think it's also important to feel that you're looking your best. So I guess maybe that's more a personal opinion. But I think it's important to sort of feel good, and through feeling good, a part of that is feeling like you look your best as well.
Okay,
yeah.
So that always helps to
to
make your work ethic improve.
Yeah,
in moderation, of course. Yeah,
in moderation, absolutely. I think so.
Okay. So, as a child psychologist, you look at you talk to people like me or who have particular problems with school or the things they want to talk about.
Yes. Yeah.
What stories have you seen? Some people come to you with.
Yeah, sure. So I've worked in schools as a school psychologist and as a guidance counsellor. Same role, just different names. So I have spoken to lots of students about work stress, academic stress, and trying to manage their time. So I would say that is certainly a big thing with high schools. But anxiety, unfortunately, is ever on the increase. So, that can come from a number of different things. It's, there's lots of reasons why somebody would become anxious, but a part of that, I think, during high school is the workload and the pressures. And I think something that a lot of students fall into is feeling that high school is a time for, they've got to make all of their decisions, they have to decide what they want to do at uni or if they're going to go to uni, and it seems like there's so much pressure. I have learnt the hard way, though, that I finished school and then I started a uni course in teaching, decided it wasn't for me, so I decided to take the rest of the year off and then started sociology. I did that for a year, decided, no, this isn't for me, and so I started psychology. And then I completed my psychology, 4 years doing that, and later on have become a teacher as well, so sort of gone full circle there. But I do think that's a pressure for a lot of high school students, and that those are the sorts of things that I've spoken to students about. Those pressures of, this is a big time of my life, I have to decide what subjects to take, and it's going to influence what I do at uni or what I do if I go out into the workplace. but realistically, don't worry about it, because it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
And you'll probably find that, like me, you start doing something and then realise, wasn't for me.
Okay.
So those are the sorts of things I've spoken to students about at school or in schools. I have worked with lots of students in private practice as well. So I've worked, I guess anxiety is one of those things that comes up all the time.
That's a big one, yeah.
It is, and that can manifest itself in areas such as, obsessive compulsive disorder. That's the sort of branch of, comes from anxiety. And I've been working with a student quite recently, and we are working through those issues. He's sort of washing his hands all the time, and or just these different sort of OCD behaviours. So, having rituals before going to bed and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's all stemming from anxiety. So what we've had to do is try and sort of work on limiting those behaviours and getting to the root cause of where the anxiety is coming from. Other ways that anxiety can come out, for example, I was working in the Northern Territory, and a boy was presenting with self-strangulation. So he was basically strangling himself almost to the point of passing out, and this is a daily occurrence, and really worrying behaviour. But I don't just look at that behaviour and think that's what needs changing. I look at, well, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
And as we worked out, he was very anxious about whether he would get a meal that day, and at home there was lots of domestic violence, there was, lots of drinking, never food in the fridge, and so that was his anxiety. And then we could put things in place like, he would be given breakfast at school, and we could help the family, work with the family to help the student. So I think anxiety, in answer to your question, long-winded, sorry, but I think anxiety is a big issue for lots of teenage students, and trying to help with putting things in place, strategies in place so that teenagers can manage those anxieties is really important.
Yeah.
So I would actually say, there are lots of people out there that can help you. So if there's anybody who is feeling anxious or just pretty stressed out, or any other sorts of issues that might be happening, like friendship issues, issues going on at home with your family, then there's always going to be a school counsellor or somebody that you can turn to.
Yeah.
Or this kids helpline. That's a free line that you can call, or I believe you can email them as well. So there's lots of avenues that are there to help children and teenagers.
Okay. So in summary, having looked at all these aspects, what do you think are the most important things that a student or a person needs to be most concerned about when making right decisions and being able to survive high school?
Sure. So I think, in summary, I would say thinking about who your support networks are. So I think you need to, identify those people in your life that you can turn to for support. So whether that's family members or friends or the school counsellor or another person at school that you can trust and turn to. I think identifying the support network is important, because there are going to be times when you're just feeling really overwhelmed, and it's helpful to get the help of somebody else. So I would say, that's something that I think is really important. Breaking down things so they're more manageable, I think that's going to be really important. And, just acknowledging that, we can't do everything, Teachers just keep throwing things at high school students, and I understand the pressures of that. And sometimes it feels like, the teachers aren't talking and they're all throwing assignments at you at the same time, and it's really so much pressure.
It gets it, yeah.
Yeah, so I in a nutshell, I suppose thinking about the people who can help you is important. Calling on them for help if you need help, if you're not managing on your own. Thinking about things that you can do to feel less overwhelmed, and that's probably keeping up with those hobbies that you enjoy or those co-curricular activities that you enjoy doing, so you've got something else as well, and finding a bit of time in that big mix to try and relax. Maybe go to yoga if that's your thing, or go for a walk if you enjoy doing that. So trying to find a bit of time there for relaxing as well, but also just sort of remembering that high school, you try to have a bit of fun as well. It's not just all about the academia. I mean, academic work is obviously very important too, but we're also not all academic people. There are lots of people who go off from high school and never use maths again, or they never they do manual labour jobs or hairdressing or whatever it is that they choose to do. And they're all very important jobs that they're doing. So you don't always need to have a good school background, but it's obviously good to get that under your belt if you can. So, sometimes I just think, if you've got to do something, just do it and try and do it to the best of your ability. So call on your support networks, try and put some strategies in place to help you, and just get through it, and then you can focus on what it is you want to do after high school.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. So thanks for coming in and having an interview with me.
Lovely. Thanks for having me.
All good. Thank you.
Cheers.
You don't mind me asking, but you don't seem like yourself. I don't need to know what happened or if you want some help. I may not have the answers, but if you need someone to listen, you don't need a friend to understand. You need a friend who's right there in it. The world's not gonna stop spinning if you step back like you're not in it. It always looks a little different when you look at it from the outside. It's gonna be alright. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Something good will come out of that trouble. When everything goes wrong, just stand back and laugh. When you stumble, make it part of the dance. I'll be the one who has your back when you trip over your feet. I will be the one to catch you and get you back on beat. The world's not gonna stop spinning if you step back like you're not in it. It always looks a little different when you look at it from the outside. It's gonna be alright. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Something good will come out of that trouble. When everything goes wrong, just stand back and laugh. When you stumble, make it part of the dance. Make it part of the dance. The world's not gonna stop spinning if you step back like you're not in it. It always looks a little different when you look at it from the outside. It's gonna be alright. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Something good will come out of that trouble. When everything goes wrong, just stand back and laugh. When you stumble, make it part of the dance. When you stumble, make it part of the dance.
We hope you enjoyed the interview just there. Our final song today is by Taylor. It's called I Have Tried.
And I haven't done this in a long time. Couldn't write your name down or make it sound right. Now you're fading away and I'm getting scared now. Try to fix myself, be better for you. Now you're right beside me, I look in my shoes. Don't you know how hard it is for me to look into your eyes? I don't know why I can't say goodbye. Oh, I've tried, trust me, I've tried, trust me, I've tried. I've spent long nights here waiting for you. Any creak outside my door, may it be true. Like you've come to find me and I dry the salt from my eyes. I don't know why I can't say goodbye. Oh, I've tried, trust me, I've tried, trust me, I've tried. And I've tried thousands of times every night. But it's time, I know it's time, I know it's time. I know you're right, I know you're right, I know you're right. Are you right? Are you alright? Are you right?
We hope you enjoyed our interview today, and remember you can catch us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and on our radio station Sin Network on Wednesdays at 5.
If you'd like to listen to any of the music played in our podcast, check out the description, you can find it all there. If you also have any songs that you'd like us to play, we'd be happy to put them into our podcast.
And remember, you can find us on all our social media at Mental Music Pod, and you can also find our website at www.mentalmusic.org. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you next time.